You know we talk that stick talk, I'm about to fuck this cash up.
All right, here we are, back at it. The third episode. We made number 3 here. Third episode of Stick Talk. We got our co-host here, Mr. J Mac from Killshot Racing, back on the episode. So our special guest tonight, we got Mr. BondoBird, Josh, all the way from California. Mr. Killer Calves. Let's not waste any time, eh?
We see him.
You guys gotta pay for that.
Well, you gotta pay for that. That's on the OnlyFans.
I almost put it on my avatar. I almost put my calf picture for the avatar there.
Oh, that would have been nice.
It's stick talk. I gotta put my clutch.
Yeah, exactly. So for people that don't know Mr. Josh BondoBird, he has a stick shift Coyote, but here we are, not an S197 on this episode, but we've got a 67 Firebird?
67 Firebird, yep. The one
1967. Oh, yeah, back there in the picture. So Josh has got a 1967 Firebird with a stick shift and a Coyote. So super controversial, I'm sure, right, Josh?
Yeah, that's what we're
We love the LS guys here. I'm sure LS guys love your car.
Some, very, very few.
Very few.
Yeah.
Well, that was actually pretty funny when I seen that today. It was Bipolar Performance. They posted up a 69 Camaro, I think, and put up, what are your thoughts of a Coyote swap? And I'm like, holy shit, I'm like, I gotta tag Josh in this one, because if anyone knows what the thoughts will be on that sort of swap, it'll be Josh. So
yeah, and it's hard to summarize in very few words. That's why I said, I told one of the guys, just go look at my TikTok and my Instagram. It'll debunk their theory, because one of the guys said that the Chevy guys don't get butthurt. They go, yeah, do it. We're not gonna get butthurt. It's cool. We're not crybabies like the Ford guys. Yeah. Go look at my pages. That'll be debunked real quick.
Lots, probably more hate than love, eh?
Far more hate than love. It does get a surprisingly amount of love. From the Pontiac purists, who are the people who I thought would just like want to kill me over it. They actually have embraced it. A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them have embraced it, because I actually used to be a Pontiac purist. And it was sacrilege to put a Chevy in your Pontiac. Like, that's what people do to go drag racing, and that's a big fuck no.
That's the best.
And what's that?
That's the best way to put it right there, man.
Yeah, and so to me, with the Firebird, the Chevy was the enemy, and I think that's how I got so close with the Ford guys. We shared the same enemy. We all hunted down the Chevys and go street race and beat up on them.
Yeah,
I like it.
And it's
it's badass.
Yeah. So the Pontiac purists like it. Buick, Oldsmobile guys like it. The Chevy guys, mainly the LS guys, they can't stand it.
Yeah.
That's typical of them. It's the BOP crowd. I'm really surprised that you pulled them, because they're a weird bunch. They're almost as bad as the classic Mopar guys, but it's like the fact that you guys are like united through the hate for Chevy motors. I respect that as well. Although I do like small block Chevys, the LS guys, I'm telling you, it's something about the personality that I just can't stand myself. And I was an LS guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an everything guy. I love LSs.
Same here.
People probably don't realize it because I troll LS people, but really I'm just trolling like the Colt nut hugger, LS nut hugger. You know what I mean? That's I like everything.
There's far more of them than there are you, that's for sure. Because that's one thing I've noticed is it seems there's a lot more LS nut huggers that just don't even want to hear Coyote or any other swap, than there is the other way around. Because I'm similar to you, Josh, right? Like I pretty much like everything. Like I not part of any specific cult, right? When it comes to this game.
Yeah, but this Coyote engine, man, it's king, man. Once you get into a Coyote, you can't go back, I feel like.
And we were saying that on the last episode too, is it's just hard. It's hard to deny too these days, just what the capabilities of the Coyote, right? Like up against the LS, it's just it's so easy to make power with them, and it's just the platform's just going so far. It's becoming so hard to argue that, you know, Coyote isn't, you know, King Daddy.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a lot of motor and such a small. I mean, yes, the heads are massive, but we're talking cubic inch wise. Like it's a small package, and you're getting a lot of RPM capability. I mean, the damn motor. I mean, I'm a fan of the 1UZ motor, and it's like those to make over 400. You're talking forged pistons, forged rods. You know, your crank, all this other shit to make 400-500 horsepower. The Coyote, I mean, like Alex says, boost fuel, and you're ready to party. The LS motor, I don't care what anybody says. They say stock bottom end, you're still changing a cam, you're still changing lifters, push rods. The whole valve train's changing. Yes, some guys may have, what they would consider a stock bottom end, but you still grab Gen 4 internals out of a different motor, put them in your Gen 3, put ARP hardware. None of that stuff's stock. When we say stock, it's genuinely how it rolled off the assembly line. Put your choice of power adder in a fuel system and let's party. And they don't like that stuff, man.
Nope.
Well,
So
Yeah, I always thought that was. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, I was gonna say with your car, Josh, did it have a Chevy motor in it before? So like, what's the history with the BondoBird? Like, how did that start, and to where we are today?
Well, the BondoBird was my first car. Actually, it was my mom's first car.
Shit, eh?
Badass.
Yeah, it was her. It was her first car. My grandpa ran a wrecking yard for like 30+ years, and he saved it from the wrecking yard. I don't know, late 70s, early 80s. Repaired it for my mom, and then my dad drove it, and then it was sitting in the driveway, just rotting for several years because it wouldn't pass smog. And so when I was 14, they gave it to me, and my uncles are all hot rodders. So once it was mine, they my uncle Joey said, "Hey, cut my lawn. We'll buy you a carburetor." And started cut us every week cutting his lawn, and we started. He taught me how to fix it. So I had a 350 Pontiac. It was gutless smog motor,
Yeah.
and when I was in high school, I didn't have a license, but just got it running good enough to do some burnouts around the neighborhood when my parents weren't home, and
Yeah.
and then once I got my license, I just threw a stall converter in it and started racing.
Wow, so you were an auto guy at one point.
I was what?
You were an auto guy at one point, huh?
Yeah, it had an automatic in it. It was a 2-speed, and then my uncle Joey was like my biggest influence for racing, and he had a Fox body Mustang. It was auto, and then he had a '69. Well, he still has it, but a '69 Dodge Dart 344 speed car.
Nice.
And he would tell me, yeah, automatic is the way to go for racing, automatic high stall, blah blah blah. But he always had to make sure I knew that there's a special valor to stick shift drag racing. It's just a whole nother, like manliness to having a stick shift. And that's what I learned to drive stick shift on was that Dart, and it was a motherfucker. Has a weird clutch assembly in it, and right about the engagement point, the clutch pedal slams up, so you're actually it's just weird, but that's what I learned to drive on, and then he taught me how to bang shift it in the neighborhood. You leave the foot, your gas at the same position, you just bam, start grabbing gears in the parking lot, chirping the tires, and so I just always had that in the back of my head, like stick shift racing is extra cool. Yeah, it's easy and maybe faster with an auto. But stick shift just has that valor to it.
A lot cooler.
Right. So, but my Pontiac, as long as it had a Pontiac motor, it was always automatic. It had a turbo 350 in it eventually.
Yeah.
400 Pontiac and, ported iron heads. And it was most of its life, 13-second car. Toward the end of the Pontiac's life, it was probably mid-12s on motor, and then it had 180 hit of nitrous on it. Fun little car, and blew it up in 07, and it sat from then until 2018, and that's when the Coyote-swapped started.
Nice.
So it sat for 11 years.
Yeah.
What was your big motivation?
Were you kind of
Hey, screw it, let's go put a Coyote and let's go off the wall.
Yeah, well, in between there, a lot happened in between. I decided to take a break from the car scene. Well, I take that back. That didn't happen until 2011. I had a Honda, little EK
Hey,
hatchback.
Fucking
yeah, I like
right.
that. Yeah, you're getting outnumbered, Jay.
Son of a
We
bitch.
all Honda guys. That's where we start. I
Dude, Hondas, special place in my heart. And it's funny
know.
because
Same here, bro.
my uncle, the one that got me into racing and everything, yeah, fucking imports. Oh, he hated it, but
I like
Yeah.
your
I
uncle.
get.
I like that.
Hey, I'll put money. My little Honda would have beat up on his Dart.
Yeah.
It's just
My
it
heart.
is what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
little single cam non VTEC
Oh
and
shit.
with 100 shot of nitrous. It was a high
Little
13-second car.
D-series. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a
D-series with
fun
some nitrous.
Badass.
Hell yeah.
You guys
fun
actually
fucking
recently
car.
see that that B series record that just Precision posted? It was a single cam like you're talking about, bone stock motor, and it went like a 9. I think it was a 940 with a Precision turbo,
Jesus.
and it's a stock
Holy shit.
like
Single
stock
cam.
cam, stock everything.
And
Crazy.
it was a D series.
I'm not too sure. I'd have to look back on Precision's post. I'll have to send it to you, but it was pretty cool to see. I actually saw. I think it was like two days ago. I saw it on Instagram pop up on Precision's page. I was like, man, that's actually impressive.
That's pretty
I'll,
badass.
I'll have to check that out. I haven't followed Honda stuff much since then, but yeah, they're pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
Coming around to it a little bit.
Coming right.
Kinda.
Hey, it's just different. Sometimes it's not about how fast you're going. It's just the environment and the racing. I think I loved the Honda because it was stick shift. It
Yeah.
was stick
Yep.
shift, and I had to work at it more to get it off the line. And I obsessed about learning how to launch that car. And that's one thing my Honda was known for was launch like an all-wheel drive. Like a 1.95 60 foot. But to the Honda guys, that
Which is
was like,
pretty, yeah.
Front wheel drive. That's impressive.
Front wheel drive. Yeah. Hell yeah.
and on the street it fucking hooked. A little bit of prep. I had an all-purpose radial, but a little bit of prep, just feather the clutch out of the hole, and I grabbed the nitrous 5 foot out. I think that thing went. I mean, 2 valve Mustangs fucking hated my car. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
um, but um, but man, street racing that car, so much fun, dude. And part of it was because it was stick shift, but the environment and the import
Yeah.
scene, as long as you're not getting shot or jumped, you avoid that stuff, then you're
good.
good. It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what sometimes it seems like. I hear it from a lot of the fast guys, like a lot of the small tire guys will say the same thing. Like, man, I had more fun when I had, fill in the blank car that ran, 12s or this or that. And it's like, I feel like that's what a lot of the racing community nowadays misses. And like, everybody wants to chase, the typical TikTok fame of like, I make 1,000 horsepower plus and I'm at TX2K Gap and Lambos. But then it's like, at the end of the day, they're crying like, man, I had more fun with the slower cars. And it's like, there is, like you said, a certain environment to those slower, fun cars that you built in your backyard, threw it together. And you're like, there's more pride because it doesn't matter if you win or lose. You're like having fun. You built the car. You could drive it there, race it, and drive it home. And there's just some coolness about that that's missing from the faster stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I feel like you have to be more professional with the faster stuff, and sometimes you just want to be,
Yeah.
you just want to be a hood rat motherfucker,
Just be a kid. Yeah. Yeah.
That one. I don't know what professionalism is. Chicago, baby.
No, but there's something to be said too about those days, right? Like now you could probably relate to that too, Jay, back then when the cars like a 13 or 14-second car was fast, right? Like my
Yep.
EK coupe ran low 14s, but that 9,000 RPM and banging gears and actually being able to hit it on the street without going to jail within 2 seconds, right? Like driving something slow, fast sometimes is better than driving or more fun than driving something fast, slow, right? So
absolutely,
I think that's part of it too.
Yeah, we're
especially when you get to into the laws. Like I know the laws up in here in Canada are pretty strict, right? So 50 kilometers over, they're taking your license for 2 weeks, taking your car for a month, like,
Jeez.
right? So it's yeah.
yeah. Over here, man, we get to be hood rats. We can do all the stupid stuff.
Go home.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
So then, so
California,
that,
I'm sorry.
I was actually
yeah. So then with
about in Cali, you got to worry about all the state ref and everything, right? That kind of shit.
Yeah, yes, but if you're a jackass and you attract attention to you all the time, then you have a lot to worry about. Um,
So I won't go.
I never really had an issue. I mean, I'd get pulled over by cops and like Blackstone is the main street in Fresno. That's where everyone cruises, and it's illegal to cruise. So of course they're out there pulling everyone over. Mostly the dipshits who are racing down Blackstone, but
it's
sometimes you.
illegal to cruise. You
Oh
said
yeah, yeah. If
what?
a cop sees you make head the same direction twice, they can pull you over.
That's crazy.
What? That's whack. No shit.
That's insane.
Yeah, what I mean, dude, there's hundreds of cars out there, and you got everything from you know just crazy stereo systems that you hear 3 blocks up and it's rattling
Yeah.
everything in between to import racers. You got muscle cars. It's nowadays you got dipshits fucking doing burnouts and closing out the intersection.
Hmm.
So it's kind of a mess there. If you wanted to just drive up to the mall, like you're kind of fucked. If you go on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday night.
Yeah. I see a lot of that with
So
Yeah.
the lowrider culture. They give a lot of people problems out there. I'm heavy into the scene, like I like watching a lot of what goes on out there with the lowriders and stuff. And I seen they had a big celebration last year. One of the main boulevards, they had that cruising ban lifted, and everybody was out there like the same night. It's crazy, and following that and how like they cruising's illegal. It's insane, man. It's insane how much. But I do understand, obviously, like the takeover guys getting it hot for everybody. And I mean, honestly, even some of our guys, you see muscle car guys out there and they're just frying tires, and it's like it's cool. Don't get me wrong, but time and place.
exactly. Yeah, another huge lowrider scene here, and it used to be legal to cruise until 10 p.m.
Hmm.
and it was on Sunday nights starting from Easter, and it was through the car season, and it was mostly involved around the lowriders. But all everyone else just kind of took it over, and of course the lowriders don't go home at 10. That's actually when the party starts, and then
Yeah,
there's
Yeah.
drinking, and there's just it's just it gets wild.
yeah,
So
it does. I can vouch.
Yeah, that's crazy. I never would have thought. Never heard anything like that. So that's new to me. That's crazy. Not allowed to cruise. Wow.
yeah, yeah.
So from
But
the so from the Honda, then I guess you got back into the Bird after 10, 11 years.
yeah, I took a break. It was like 2011. The Honda actually I was building an engine for it, and it got T-boned out in front of my parents' house, so it got destroyed. So that went bye bye, and I just took a break because the scene was changing. Everything was about cruise now, and everyone wanted that gangster. You race someone for $40, you beat them, well then they just want to fight you. You know what I mean? They don't want to pay the $40. I'm just not that kind of guy. Like I'll fight if I have to, but I'm a stickler for doing what's right and actually like treating
Yeah.
people fair. And if I agree to do something, I'm gonna fucking do it. And fuck you
Yeah.
if you don't. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And there's too much of that, so I need to take a break. Stepped away, and then of course that's when I met who is now my wife, and so got busy during that
Mhm.
time. But of course I kept watching, and yeah, I just wanted to build a Pontiac, but Pontiacs are low rev, high torque engines, and just something about all motor stick shift cars kept grabbing my attention. Of course, I'm sure most of your guests are gonna say this, but Gray Mare, watching fucking Gray
Yeah.
Mare beat that GTR, and
Yeah.
then a couple years later beat that Porsche. It's like, God damn it, you know what I mean? Like, I like that shit. And
Yeah.
then one of the big racers in SenCal, Tony, he was a big stick shift guy, small block, nitrous car. Um, there's just a few cars I just kept my eye on. It just you get so much more excitement watching those cars.
Mhm.
Then came Coyote stock. Once I was introduced to Coyote stock class, holy shit, that just changed everything. and I became obsessed with that shit. A buddy of mine had a 2014 Performance Pack Mustang, a 373 gear S197, and I took that thing. He let me drive it, dude. I was instantly hooked. The power band was
Yeah.
completely different than what I was used to. It was weird not having torque. Like launching it, like I launched my Honda. It was like it's all normal stock tires, and I didn't even squeal them. Like it just drove right out. I had to check to make sure I did turn traction control off, and I did. Dude, that thing was fucking fast.
Yeah.
And I just started contemplating selling my Firebird to get me a Mustang or something to swap a Coyote into, because I wanted the Coyote, but I didn't want to get rid of my Firebird. And
Can't get
uh,
rid of that. Not after the history with that. Jeez.
as you could tell, it's like, well, eventually I just got past the purist bullshit and did what I wanted.
Oh yeah. What made you choose the G101, the Coyote stock background? You're like, that's what you wanted to go with? Or you had the G5R or
No,
G101?
no. I started off with an MT82.
No shit.
Oh shit.
Yes. So I my goal with the car, and I was dead set on this, and part of me is still mad that I veered away, but I wanted a 6-speed car that I could drag race, and it's fast and efficient. But that starts like a stock car, it drives like a stock car, and so I wanted, I went with the MT82 stock Gen 2 long block, and of course the plan was to put a Whipple on it. My goal was eights, basically a solid drag and drive style car, stock long block, and go eights. So that was the original goal. But things get expensive, of course, so I skipped out on doing the blower first and cut some corners, and I wanted to play all motor. I set a goal to go tens, anywhere in the tens, all motor, and then I'll save it and put a blower on it. So I had an MT82, and it wasn't a standard MT82. I had a buddy of mine put V6 ratios into a Coyote housing. So it was a wide ratio MT82, had a 4 1/4 to 1 low gear, so a much low gear, shorter, and had a 1.24 to 1 fourth, so it was longer in fourth. So it was sometimes like you just barely shy, you run out of gear with a standard
Right.
MT82. This one you had an extra 10 mile an hour in fourth.
And forth, yeah.
Yeah, so it and of course, because I was obsessed with Coyote stock, they actually weren't running at this time. They weren't running G101s yet. They were still required to run a streetcar style transmission. So I would a lot of them, at least the guys that I talked to, had TKO 500s. So I compared all the gear splits, and the mile per hour in each gear at the shift point, blah blah blah. Like basically, the V6 ratios are almost like right on the money with a TKO 500. So it
Okay.
worked out perfect. I had the ratio, I had the splits of what they run, but it was synchronized. Um, and I'll just say it right now, that was the fastest transmission in my car to date.
Wow.
It's giving me
It,
bad ideas.
And that's
dude,
well, I've never heard of anyone putting the V6 gear set in the MT82. There is a guy locally here that actually races a built V6 with the MT82 with the V6 gear set in it, but that's the first time I've actually heard of someone putting the V6 gear set in the V8 MT82. So
oh, dude,
that's interesting.
it was awesome, especially for all motor. You know what I mean? If I had a blower, probably wouldn't be ideal, but all motor, dude, fucking nice. Um, so I got it running, stock long block. I put oil pump gears in it, crank sprocket, and
Yeah.
1320 junky Boss manifold.
Okay.
Tuned on E85, and like I was having clutch issues like immediately. First day out testing on the street, the clutch pedal, I'd kick it and it would stay to the floor,
Ooh.
and it would just like wait. Okay, pops up. It would randomly pop up. Thought I got it figured out because I got a good, few clean shifts out of it. Took it to local track, and same thing all night. Just at least one gear, it'll just stay to the pedal or stay to the floor.
Mhm.
Mike Norsha of Ram Clutches actually reached out and gave me some information. I had a Fidanza clutch, and he told me to shim the pressure plate. Told me what I'm doing is I'm over traveling the diaphragm, the spring diaphragm past center, and he goes, when you mix that with a lot of RPM, just nothing pushing it back. And it was funny because when I was on the control pack tune with the 7,000 RPM rev limit, didn't have the issue at all. It wasn't until I tuned it with the 85 and now shifting it at 7,800 that was when the problem was introduced. So it made sense. Everything he told me made sense. I ended up shimming the transmission or the clutch. I'm skipping ahead. I made some other tweaks, changed the master cylinder. I changed some things. Went to the track another time, so second outing with the car, and one pass. I made like 8 or 9 passes that day, but one pass, it blessed me with a clean shift every gear. Went 1050s, went 1055 at 129.
Holy shit.
So the first goal was met by a long shot. I just wanted to go into the 10s. So went 1050s. And then that was when Mike reached out to me. Then I bought a new pressure plate, shimmed it, but I also trashed that transmission like immediately. And it's, I learned a lot in this process. I had set it up. It was funny. I was talking to Carlos Sobrino, and I picked his brain as much as I could. But Coyote stock racer, phase plated transmission. I'm an idiot, and I don't realize that some things that he can do I can't do because I have synchros. So I had my pedal stop set up to where if I give it any RPM with the pedals to the floor, the car would start creeping. And because he said, "Oh yeah, I need my line lock to hold the car still on the line." I'm like, "All right," so I set mine up like him because hey, that's number one of the top Coyote stock racers. Why not? I didn't realize that I wasn't fully disengaging the clutch and trashing the synchros, so I tore up that transmission, unfortunately, and I got another stock Coyote MT82, and then now put a shimmed Fidanza in the car. And now the clutch is working great. But unfortunately, I traded my Gen 2 control pack for that transmission. And it was supposed to be good, but had a trashed third gear. So kind of got fucked on that deal. And I took that off the car, the control pack, because I put a AEM Infinity on the car.
Oh, okay.
So now I'm kind of learning how to tune the car. I was working with AEM. They were validating Gen 2 cam control on my car. So got that figured out, and I kind of learned how to tune a little bit. And but I couldn't get any times with that transmission because third gear was dead. So, man, see, I keep skipping ahead on little details I have to come back to when that's something else
no
comes.
worries. Yeah, roll. Let's do it.
So I obsess over stupid shit. Like I'm an idiot.
Me too. That's all right. We're good here. You're
So I told you the car went 1055, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like 129.5 mile an hour. You look at the video, dude. There was at least 2-3 tenths left in the 60-foot. I mean, I had the wrong tire. It was a wrinkle wall slick. It just crushed like hell. The back of the car bouncing for the first 150 feet. The back of the car is bouncing so bad that, because it's not like I make that kind of power, but the back was bouncing so bad that then when I did the 1-2 shift, the nose dropped as the back went up, and then it carried the front wheels like an inch and a half off the ground.
Oh, shit.
for like 30-40 feet when I grab second gear. Again, not that I make that much power.
Yeah.
But that's how fucked off the car was. You know what I mean? It was so bad, but I was I was preoccupied fighting clutch issues that I had yet to get start dialing in the cow tracks and the shock adjustments and all that. I was making little tweaks, but basically there's a lot. Everyone always says there's more left in it. No, there was a lot left
Yeah, it sounds like
in
your
my
suspension
car.
was wall whacked there.
Right, in the leaf spring car they separate really hard. I should have never put a wrinkle wall slick and a diaphragm clutch. It's just too much, it just hits way too hard. I
Mhm.
damn near put the wheel into the ground
Oh, shit.
on the lawn. Yeah. Um so this is where I obsess on my Facebook post showing that. Um what's his name? Wesley Evans, the
Oh yeah, real
real
teal.
teal,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
OG
yeah,
real teal guy.
yeah.
Like, he makes a comment saying, shit, he goes, that's 9-second mile an hour. He goes, put the right clutch in that car, it's gonna go nines. Really? All right, say less. Now I'm obsessed. Now this car has to go nines, and
Yeah.
there's no fault of Wesley. I just obsessed. I'm like, he's a bad motherfucker.
Oh
Like he
yeah.
said this. So I was like, okay, fine. He says get a black magic. I'm gonna get a black magic. So when the V6 transmission got trashed, I sent it off to first a local fabricator, and we cut an access window so that I can make clutch adjustments, and then we shipped it off to Calimer to have a stage 3 build. And and then I ordered the Black Magic clutch. I got a Define X 3-finger, and so a lot of time has passed, but I get that into the car now. And again, now shit, this car's gonna go fast, right? Got the
Yeah, you
badass
got the
clutch,
stage
badass
3, you got the
transmission.
good clutch. Yep, yep.
Bro, the car's lucky to go 11 teens. I'm like, what the
Yes.
fuck's going on? You know what I mean? And it's funny because I'm not even getting slip out of it. It's damn near as harsh as a diaphragm. And I'm like, okay, fine. I started heavy on the counterweight, heavy on the base. Let me start taking out of it, and I even had Calimer put a input shaft speed sensor, so I have actual data logs showing clutch slip, and I probably to this day probably the only MT82 that ever had that.
Yeah.
So um, kept taking weight out of it, changing rear gear ratio. The car started off with a 389, then it went to a 486, then to a 410. I mean, because actually, Kale from Blackmagic was telling me to run the use fifth gear in the quarter mile.
Oh, shit.
I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah. He's like, it'll be faster. I'm like, this is not a clutchless. I have to shift it. I have to clutch to shift it. He goes, yeah, I don't care. It's gonna be faster. All right, cool. So first I put a 486, and I'm using fifth gear in the quarter mile. Car was slow. Making clutch adjustments, couldn't get anything out of it. Then I put a 410 in it to use fourth gear. Also, when I made all those changes, I put a 28 tire. I was previously on a 26,
Mhm.
and I just couldn't get slip out of it. Like it was, I'm talking like 2/100ths of a second worth of slip, which is nothing. It's pretty much like a diaphragm. And I had almost no weight on those fingers, so I think it was too much disc, maybe too heavy of base spring and too much disc. I probably needed something with a lower coefficient of friction, however you say that.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it had too much clutch, even with the adjustable, and the car. I mean, I had a lot. I literally launched it. I don't know how I fucked it up, but on the actual rev limiter, not the two step. So 8,500 RPM, dump the clutch, nail all the shifts, and it went like 1090. So I'm like, and also in cooler air, when it went 1055, that was like early September. It was over 100 degrees that day and like 4,500 DA.
Fuck.
Now, yeah, now I'm in the winter. It's like low 70s and 500 feet, and I'm struggling to go to go into the 10s. Actually, that's when I put. I don't know if you guys remember, but I 3D printed a goofy looking ram air scoop. I don't have a MAF sensor anymore with the AEM, so I had a scoop right over my radiator. It just went straight to the throttle body. Um, that picked me up like 3 mile an hour and 2/10, and that put me in the tens. So launching at over 8,000 RPM and having a ram air scoop is what it took to run into the tens. And I'm like, man, this is weird. Those are 2 track days. The one when I was had the 486s and using fifth gear. Then the second track day when I have 410s and using fourth gear. And it's funny because at the track, dude, the last time I shifted it, dude, I will say this: the Caliber Stage 3, smoothest transmission I've ever driven, ever. I mean, it just goes into gear so smooth. Then I take it to go make some street hits because I'm determined to get this clutch to slip, right? And that's the one that, if you guys remember, Alex was making fun of me because I just kept like missing gears, missing gears.
Yeah.
Dude, it's just literally one time the transmission shift beautifully. The next time, it's like a wall. Nothing changed, and like I said, I have an actual access window. I'm not guessing at air gaps. I have push the clutch to the pedal or pedal to the floor, measure the air gap between the disc and the pressure plate. I actually have extra. I have more than they say I need. So everything's right, but I guess the transmission's fucked. So I send the transmission off to Caliber after only 2 track days, and I'm like, man, I fucking spent. I'm not a rich guy. Like that was a harsh one. I spend all this money on transmission and then it fails. I just like to make sense of everything. Even if I'm an idiot and I don't know right now, explain it to me like Alex says. Explain it to me like I'm an idiot. I want to learn. So I send it off to him, and man, it's one thing that really got me. A lot of people are really helpful in this car scene, and some people pretend to be helpful. Because I'm not going to go naming names. I could, but what good does it fucking do? Not like we live in the same town and we can go fight because I said someone's name.
You're not up here, are they? Because I got you.
No, but someone who's actually a recent op of Alex's. It's funny. He's a recent op of Alex's. He's like a big helper on Coyote stick shift pages.
I think I know exactly who you're talking about.
Man, a homie showed up in my DMs when I posted in the stick shift page. Like, transmission failed immediately in my DMs. Bro, I've spent $10,000. I've wasted so much time, money trying to make a slipper clutch work with a synchronized transmission. It's not going to happen. And he even sent me videos showing the main problem that he found. He's like showing me data and everything, right? But to me, I'm like, so you've been watching me all along, and you knew it was going to fail, but you don't save me money or say, hey, you know what? I've wasted enough time, energy, and money in this. Like, let me show you what I know. Maybe you can figure something else out. Or maybe you should approach this differently. You know what I mean? Like, no, it's like, oh, he's going to waste a bunch of time and money, and I'm going to watch it happen and then tell him that I knew it was going to happen. You know what I mean? I'm like, fuck, I hate people like that. So he shows me actual good information that I wish I had known before because I could have tried to figure something out, And then, and so I'm trying to leave a lot of information out of there, but then I go to Kale at Black Magic and I'm like, hey, I'm told that this clutch is not going to work with the synchronized transmission. I'm like, surely that can't be the case. You got any tips or tricks to help me out? He goes, oh, nope, ain't going to work, convert to manual. But you knew I had a hydraulic setup when I bought your clutch. I told you.
Yeah.
That ain't going to work, got to convert to manual. Like, well, it's not a T56 where I can do that. Buy a different bell and then put all the shit. So now I got a broken transmission and a, expensive clutch that does me no good. So, sold the clutch, lost my ass on the clutch, had to pay. Now I will say Caliber helped me out on the rebuild. It was just synchronizers and he gave me a pretty good deal there. But he wanted me. He really pushed a clutch on me that I don't know why. I obsess over stupid shit, right?
Mhm.
All the Coyote-swapped guys get down with a tamer and a single disc. I've always been told single discs are better for racing, especially when it comes to clutch control. I've always been told that twin discs are on-off switches, and I never tested that out myself, right?
Yeah.
So I bought the twin disc that I bought from him, the twin disc that he told me, no, this is what you want, don't get nothing fancy. And well, that failed on me the first day. It's not his fault, obviously, but I was so salty.
Holy shit, man.
The clutch I did not want, like literally the disc broke apart.
Oh shit.
It just it disintegrated, dude. And
That's a bad
and
one.
then I'm like,
What clutch was it?
my boss has already been called for this,
Okay, so
so
okay,
I'm not
fair
gonna
enough.
I'm not gonna name
That's
it.
Fair enough.
I can't name it,
Yeah, no, that's
Um,
fair. That's fair. Yeah.
and it, and even then, it's like I'm not even blaming the whose name is on it or the manufacturer because it is a private labeled. It's a McLeod clutch that private labeled for someone else.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Um, when I put it in the car, I had called McLeod and I'm like, "Hey, look, I got this. There was a private track rental in November. Super good DA, super cold temps. I mean, this is ideal time to go racing. Expensive track rental, radial prep. I mean, this is to me. This was like, all right. This is where I'm gonna. If it doesn't go nines here, I don't give a fuck anymore. It's gonna get a blower after this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also, I got hooked up with Bill Armstrong. Good
Yeah.
guy.
Gun show Billy, yeah.
Yeah. So I got a test unit. I begged him. I'm like, look, I know they're not available yet. I said I will pay full price. I'll pay extra. I can give you data if you're still in testing. Blah blah blah. And he bit, and he's like, yeah, he didn't even charge me for it. He hooked me up with it because I was actually his first iPhone user, and he needed to make sure that the iPhone app was working right there along with the Android app, and it took a long time. It took a lot of testing. So it worked out good for him too to have someone trying it out.
Mm-hmm.
I used to take that car to the Whipple parking lot. Well, I drive it to work at least once a week, but I'd go there and stay 2 hours late. Dump in the clutch, dump in the clutch, dump in the clutch, making adjustments, dump in the clutch, just trying to make it work and then giving him feedback and then talk to his guy. I helped him with the development of the iOS app.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm like, okay, the transmission's fresh, air's good, everything's dialed. Oh, and I even RPG Racing Engines is local to me. I used to work with the guy, and I dropped my engine off with him, have him put valve springs in it. To save me some time, I was fucking buried in work. At Whipple, I was working I worked one like 104-hour week and a bunch of 8-hour
Holy
weeks.
shit.
Yeah, it was SEMA time. It was right before SEMA.
Mhm.
So I didn't have time to mess with my engine. Took it to RPG. My car was apart, and I paid like $600 into this private track rental. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make sure everything's right. And I had to take 2 days off. So I sent off the SEMA parts, it was for a Banks project. It was actually a cool project. So while SEMA's going on, I actually took like 3 days off of work so that I could put my car back together and break in the clutch. I called McLeod and I'm like, look, this is not a street car. At least at the time, I didn't have time to drive it. I said, I'm gonna go straight to the track. How can I make this clutch work right without breaking? And they go, nope, ain't gonna work without breaking, you're gonna break it. I'm like, okay, level with me here. I'm not gonna get 1,000 miles on this thing in a couple of days, They said, okay, what really matters is 2,000 clutch engagements. And they said, okay, you can take off from the light. Even if you're driving straight at 40, start upshifting, downshifting. When you come up to a red light, downshift instead of using your brakes. Every clutch engagement is going to count. So 2,000 of those, do what you got to do. All right, cool. And I did. And so maybe the clutch broke because maybe it was improperly broken in because, you know, 2,000 clutch engagements on your S197 is not the same as my car. My car weighs 3,040 pounds with me in it. It's got, you know, at the time, 410s and a 330 or a 340 low gear. It's just very little, amount of time that you're slipping, even driving off from the light. You know what I mean? And then same thing every time you shift. It's just minimal effort on the clutch because the car's so light, doesn't make torque. So, man, what I'm saying is I fought like hell to get to this racetrack or to get to this race day, and then second pass the thing just blew apart. So, I was upset, and that's why see, I'm over here like I got way sidetracked. I told you guys I'll get
You're
sidetracked.
good. You're good.
Oh yeah, no worries. No, it's
but
good.
yeah, so it blew apart, and then my boss got called because I posted it online. I didn't even bash them, but it was just left me salty. I'm like, man, I don't even want this clutch, and it cost me after
Well, it
all
costs
these
you so much.
all
Costs you
this
so much
time and
money, and you work
effort.
hard for your money. You're not
Oh,
rich by any means, right? Like you're
dude,
just a
time
normal
and
dude, right?
money.
Like in time, money. Yeah,
Yeah, and those days I took off of work were unpaid because I was
yeah,
already out of vacation time. Like,
yeah.
yeah, it cost me a lot of time and money for the clutch to fail. So I was upset, man. And but the clutch got replaced, and I sold it. And then I put a spec stage 5 single disc, which a lot of people told me, dude, that's a lot of clutch. But I did that specifically because I wanted the sintered iron disc, the same disc that is in the slipper clutches, because they're intended, they do great with all the slip, they hold up to the
But,
heat.
yeah.
And now I got the bank shift Billy. So I'm like, all right, cool, now I'm going to do it this way, kill the transmission. And I'm like, okay, what the fuck, you know what I mean? I'm like, something's wrong here. I can verify air gap. I can verify this, verify that. When I was talking to Calimer, I'm like, is it an inertia thing? Because I was getting the generic answer, which okay, fine, that's fine on him. A lot of people aren't going to understand, but I was asking him, is it an inertia thing? And he's like, well, MT82s don't like single discs; they only like twin discs. Like, make it make sense. Is it because the input shaft doesn't know what's on there?
Yeah.
Like, there's different weights. But a twin disc surely has more weight to it than a single disc, but single discs are bigger in diameter, and we all know that that affects inertia.
Mhm.
I'm like, make it make sense, please. I'm like,
Yeah.
and you just like, you don't want those, and then at the same time, that just was discouraging for me. Again, I can't knock Calimer for it. I still recommend his transmissions all the time over a T56 Magnum because it's
Really?
smooth, dude.
Well,
Drives so much
I
better.
I'd believe the smoothness, but holy fuck, man, the failures I've seen with those Caliber transmissions, I'd have a hard time putting one in my car. I'll tell you, he'd have to
Well,
give me one, or at least like I don't pay you unless the thing lasts 12 fucking months because I've seen so much shit online personally.
uh, maybe I haven't seen that. Now mine failed immediately, but again, at least I was able to figure out why. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And what I eventually found out after the fact was my issue wasn't even so much the fact that the same issue that the other guy had with the slipper clutch. When you have a lot of counterweight and you revving it up, like your fingers actually push out, which now
Mhm.
changes the air gap from the throwout bearing to the fingers. But also, you got to think your pressure changes. I mean, have either of you guys driven a slipper clutch car,
Yep.
an adjustable
I
clutch?
haven't.
Yeah.
I haven't.
Okay. Well, he knows. But what I'll tell you is when you do a burnout, or right before you do a burnout, have the clutch in. You put X amount of pressure onto the pedal because there's no pressure, right? You're only overcoming the base pressure. Get the RPMs up before you dump the clutch, bro. The pedal fucking pushes your leg back.
Yep. You got to be on it.
Because now you with the counterweight, you're applying all of that pressure. You're adding, there's more pressure to overcome. Now you have to apply more strength out of your leg to push down the pedal.
Well, you got that covered.
So yeah, I mean, so yeah, no problem there. But it still surprises you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened is So what happens is, if I set my air gap, the disengagement of the clutch, the engine's not on. There's no counterweight. There's no added pressure there. Also, your fingers aren't pushed out from the pressure, but also you think about it, it's going to take so much hydraulic pressure to overcome the fingers. But you're setting the air gap with hardly any pressure. It's not the same when you're at 8,000 RPMs. There's more pressure to overcome. So then when you're kicking the clutch, you're not fully disengaging it. And then what I ended up finding out is, well, sintered iron, I mean, if you ever pick one up, they're heavy. They carry a lot of inertia. And that's, I think, in my case, was the bigger killer. It was just a lot of inertia on that disc. So, of course, you push in the clutch, the RPMs of the input shaft don't drop very fast. So your synchros have to work a lot harder to slow that thing down before your next shift. So, so I killed the first calimer. Oh, so I haven't seen many failures from the calimer. I guess I'm not looking out there enough. Mine, I have reasons that I know caused the failure. You know what I mean? That's
I
why
like to say I see 50, it's 50-50 is what I see out there. It's like 50% of them guys have positive experience, the other 50 don't. So, but I've also mentioned before in the past, but I have a hard time sticking with it, is saying, like, because my case, my stock MT82 is still alive, and I'd like to think I'm a decent driver, right? But there's guys that have had failures that I would like to say are decent drivers. So does it come down to driver?
I think
Probably
it's a
not
little bit
that.
of
You know what I
both.
mean? Because
I think
like,
it's
yeah, I mean,
driver in parts because, like, I mean, the caliber transmissions, I've seen them go very far, but then I've also, like we're talking about the stock MT82s. I mean, I hate to throw this guy under the bus. He'll watch this and he'll know who I'm talking about. But he had a second gen MT82 car, so it was the S550 Gen 2 car. I mean, like, weekly was hitting me up because he'd go to test and tunes, like, oh, I put this clutch in, I'm having issues. I broke the trans, I fixed the trans, I put this clutch, I put that clutch. I put a calimer. The guy got to the point where he sold the car to buy the same car in an auto, in a 6R80. And like, I got to the point and I'm like, dude, what's your setup? Like, what's everything? Because I feel like with the MT82 cars, whether you have a calimer or a stock MT82, it's the big picture. Like, you got to be a good, and I guess that's why a lot of guys would move from the MT82, right? Because you have to have driver skill. You can't drive it like a gorilla. It's not an '03 Terminator Cobra. It's not an F body. You have to finesse it. You got to be good on it. As far as like what me and Chris do with our XCD clutches, like, they will slip. You overpower the clutch, so that you're like, okay, well, I got to give up maybe a little bit of, on my 60 foot because that thing's gonna slip. But that's what's also going to help it live. And then a lot of guys I see, which is the dumbest thing ever, with drag radials, and they're dumping it. Or with a big thing I noticed too, and we keep talking about it. Like, my driving style when I go race, whether it's on on the street and we have puddle and go, or we're at the track, as high as I could leave, I'm going to leave to get that tire to get some wheel speed, allow the clutch to slip, and then come out of the hole cooking. And a lot of guys will sit there and they're like, oh, what do you mean? I can launch it harder than 4,500? Like, yeah, when you're hitting your clutch and the thing's dead hooking and you're letting all the car bog down, you're shocking that whole drive line, everything from the differential all the way to the transmission to the back of the motor. I mean, there's some guys that I know, I mean, how soft they try to launch the car, yet how hard at the same time. I'm sure the knock sensors are going crazy because how much, like, harmonics are going through the chassis from how
they
hard
pull the motor down so
Yep.
hard.
Yep, and I feel like that's a big thing that kills a lot of it. It's like, dude, look at Coyote stock. Put them RPMs up. Put that motherfucker on the two-step at 7,500. Sidestep that bitch and let it go. Run a bias ply. That's what the stiff wall slicks are for. Get good suspension, but a lot of guys want to cheap out, and it's just like they don't want to invest in that. They don't want to hear that. They just want to hear, well, I bought a Caliber 3 and I put a twin disc. It should work. And it's like, it's not going to work, bud. It's not going to work. And then that's when you got a lot of guys that badmouth. But I also haven't had a bad transmission from Caliber because I'm poor, one, and two, the MT82 has been working well for me. So I haven't experienced it yet, but I'd like to believe that that's why there's a lot of issues with even in the stock form NA, like bolt-on guys breaking the transmissions and shattering input shafts,
And don't get me wrong, I'd love to stick with an MT82 because I said this on the last podcast too, it's the smoothest transmission I've ever driven. Like I feel like my MT82, it's butter. Like it works great. I'd be afraid to go to a T56 just how used I am to the MT82 and how it feels, but it's just
Well,
it's
well, I mean, and I'll tell you one thing that was surprising to me about the T56 that people don't always talk about, or people probably don't realize. Well, first of all, T56 is heavier, right? So you're adding weight to the car.
so
That's never fun.
you have you have a T56 in the car now, right?
Not anymore. I sold it. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
So
but
I
you
have
did
the
run a
caliber. So
T56.
okay. So
Yeah.
yeah. I guess let me get back to the timeline, and then I'll tell you what I found out about the T56.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, awesome. Yeah.
So I already killed the second caliber stage 3. Now, mind you, I spent over $4,000 on that transmission, right?
Mhm.
Hey, you got to pay to
Ain't cheap.
play. So I bought it. I spent, it was under $1,000 to rebuild the first rebuild, and then the second rebuild. Now hard part needed to be replaced. So in 4 track days, it now cost me the first like under 1,000 to rebuild, and now $2,200 because of hard parts. And I'm like, holy fucking shit! Like I have so much money into this transmission that I was just like shit. I didn't know what to do. This is also at the same time that Garrett Leach was hitting me up. Everyone thinks it was Alex's idea, and Alex is definitely the one that got me to go to Mod Nationals. Absolutely. But Garrett Leach from Second Shift Racing is the one who was trying to get me there. He wanted to start me GoFundMe, and I told him, no, I can't do that. Like, I can't be one of those people to do a GoFundMe. But he kept giving me all these different options, and I told him, okay, look, you got me hyped up. I'm gonna try to sell shirts. I'm amazed how many people wanted to buy BondoBird shirts, in the past. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try to. So I'm like, oh, you have one?
I want one. I need one.
Oh, you want? Okay,
Awesome.
okay. I'll have to get you one.
Perfect.
But so what happened is, I went on Alex's show because I'm always there on his lives, right? He just happened to be wearing one that I sent him, and I said, "Hey, you look good with that thing on. Anyone want to buy him? I'm trying to raise money to go to my nationals." And that's how he's like, "Oh, hey, how can we help you? Let's do a GoFundMe." That's all that went down. So they started raising me money or they raised me. It took like what, 5 days to raise me the money to go to Mod Nationals. And then right after that's when I got the bill to rebuild the caliber. And I'm like, holy shit, this is no bueno. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I gotta go to Mod Nationals. And I got the money that is for Mod Nationals. And I'm like, but I don't do I really want to go all that way and risk another failure? Again, I know the reasons why this transmission failed me the first 2 times, but it just kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Your confidence level goes down with it. And when you're talking about bad drivers, dude, I've studied. I put a GoPro permanently inside my car to study. I'm looking at the timing for my hand. I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
I am the common denominator. What the fuck am I doing wrong? And I'm like, no, everything looks good.
Yep.
Mhm.
Um, but so the
Oh,
transmission, bless you. The transmission just it cost me so much money to rebuild, and I at this point felt like other people want to see the car go to Georgia, and I'm like, man, I got to do the shit right. So at that point, I sold the MT82, and then just went into more debt. Um, my boss is an old Art Whipple. He's an old drag racer. He's in the history books and everything. Man, he's so quick. Just like, hey, loan me money. Hey, just buy what you need, and I just pay him back. I just hand him
Yeah.
cash after I get my paycheck, cash it. I just hand him some cash.
Yeah.
Kind of a bad influence, but I mean, he understands the drag racing life.
Oh yeah.
So,
oh.
so that's how I got accused of spending the GoFundMe money to buy a T56 Magnum, and no, I just went into more debt with my boss to get it. But then I got a T56 Magnum. Um, so a lot heavier, and I mean, it's not all bad. It was a good transmission, but compared to an MT82, dude, it feels like trash. It's sloppy. It's sloppy. It's clunky. It's like, I felt like it was broken. But
And was
normal
it
driving,
stock? Like, was it like a stock Magnum XL? Like, not
yeah,
touched. Yeah,
it was
synchros, all
brand,
good. Yeah, yeah.
yep, brand new Magnum, and I got
Okay.
the wide ratio, the 297-to-1 low gear.
Hmm.
But man, compared to an MT82, that thing it did not drive nice. It was just
Hmm.
clunky. Like, I thought something was broken. I thought the clutch wasn't disengaging. And I get down there and measure everything. Everything checked out. And I go to bank shift it. You pull the lever, it goes into gear. I will say that it goes into gear, but it
Hmm.
drives so clunky.
Okay.
Then I get the car on the dyno, and that's what I was going to tell you. My car lost 33 rear wheel horsepower
Damn.
after the swap.
Through the T56. Never heard that
Stronger, but
before, so there we go.
That's
Yeah.
nuts.
well, after I made a post on it, one guy, he's a very reputable guy, and he used to work at a shop up north. Now he's in Texas. He told me he has seen, it was either 15, 20 horse difference just by swapping over from an MT82 to a Magnum. Mine probably saw a bigger difference because also, a higher ratio gear. I went from a 410 back to a 486. The
Hmm.
further from 1 to 1, the more power you're going to consume to drive it. So some of that power loss was in the rear gear, which is necessary if you're drag racing and going to a T56.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, my car lost wheel horsepower and it lost mile an hour. And going back to when I told you that my V6 MT82 was the fastest transmission. One thing that kept changing is starting line ratio. So the V6 had a 4.25 to 1. Then the Coyote MT82 had a 3.66 to 1. Then the Calimer had a 3.46 or 4.2 to
Hmm.
1. Now I'm at a 297. I'm also changing the rear gear ratio, but the low numerically lower, or the more mile an hour you're gonna do in low gear, the slower my car got.
Hmm.
And losing the 30 horsepower, lost mile an hour. Now I'm, even in winter, I'm lucky to get 120. I think maybe I got 127, but now it's living in the 125, 126 mile an hour trap speed, and that's from the transmission swap. It slowed it down, but it was back. It was still in the tens. I never had said that when I when I ditched the Black Magic and went to that twin disc that blew up. Well, even on the pass that it blew up on, the car still went 1050s. Like
Hmm.
like put a diaphragm in it, car runs mid tens. Put a Black Magic, it went 11s. It's like, how do you make sense of that?
Yeah.
Ironically, the Black Magic wasn't slipping, so you would think it'd be the same, but for whatever reason, that's just how it was. So now with the T56, I'm launching it at 7,800. Um, I had to launch it high to keep it from pulling the motor down too far. I had to get the air pressure up in the rear tires, get a little bit of slip in the tire. Meanwhile, I was still figuring out the bank shift Billy, because it did take a while to figure out the iOS app. By this point, we had actually had it figured out. In between the last track day and Mod Nationals, I was still having issues that after we figured it out. So it was more or less, he sent me a production unit. We figured the unit was probably faulty because it was not a production unit,
Okay.
and then that fixed it. So the last track day, which is only the second track day with the T56. Now this is a good story for the LS hate. Well, every time I'm around people at a track, at a car show, no one ever, shows the hate to me to my face. Funny how that works,
Oh
right?
I
no.
love
It's
that,
just,
man.
it's all love.
Well,
Where
they
it's
see.
like,
Well, they see those calves, AJ.
Yeah.
They ain't gonna fuck with those calves.
hey, nowadays I'm soft, I'm fat, bro. But
Those calves, though, man, you kick like a fucking
yeah,
horse.
All
yeah,
you need, one square kick right in the nuts. They're down.
yeah, yeah. And that's the thing. Yeah, it's just people. Little do they know that I'm a teddy bear. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'll fight if I have to, but no one ever tries. So everyone keeps it nice and they don't say anything. They might look at the engine and then just walk away. They mumble something later on. But this day I was at a track. This was September, mind you. On November 4th, I'm leaving to leave California to go to Georgia, and this is mid-September.
Man, that's a hike.
And I made like 7 passes. I'm trying to get this car, dialed in. And on my 8th pass, I had a grudge race and killed the motor. And then,
Oh,
yeah, it is very, very bad timing.
jeez.
And when I took it apart, that's, I discovered what really happened was, there was like a hose clamp stuck in the divider between the 2 valves in the runner of the cylinder head. Pull it apart, these pistons are all fucked up. And the chambers are all fucked up. And I'm like, is that detonation? What the fuck is that? And I posted pictures and people said, oh, that's detonation. But, anyone that knows a little bit, like I go to the rod bearings. Dude, when I tell you these bearings look like they'd never been ran, they measured good. Everything in the engine was perfect. It literally, hardware went through the engine. I think we left the car alone at the track in the pits and we went to lunch and my car's there, hood's open. I think someone just, pulled the filter off, threw some bolts in it. It drove up to the line just fine. Dumped the clutch, and where does it all go?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I don't know what exactly went through there, but hardware went through the engine, just beat the shit out of the chambers and the pistons. Broke a piston, and mind you, I have an AEM. I don't have a standard computer. I data log every pass. I have active knock sensors. Like, feeling's good. I mean, dude, when I tell you everything was good, I mean everything was good, and then all of a sudden it wasn't. So one of those haters saw an opportunity, and they cost me that motor.
That
So
sucks, man. Sorry to hear that.
that was shitty, and I was in denial about it because I'm like, why would someone be that shitty?
It's hard to believe when stuff
And
like that happens, honestly. You're just like, I can't believe people could be that much of a piece of shit.
yeah, and my buddy, actually, I'm wearing a shirt now.
Yep.
My buddy Cali Nate.
Rest in peace, man. Drink to that.
Yeah, no shit.
Rest in peace, the legend.
He's local. Well, he was local to me, and I used to do a lot of racing with him. He taught me a lot about street racing. And he was one of the guys that told me, he goes, dude, just give it up. He's like, it wasn't detonation. It wasn't no bullshit. Someone fucked you over. He goes, I've been fucked over. It happens. Just move on. He goes, the only thing you could do is be faster than them next time. I'm like, all right. That's why I say, like, okay, I'm gonna really feed off their hate now. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a rich guy. They killed a fucking engine of mine. You know what I mean? That wasn't easy. But again, my boss, has unlimited funds and is always willing to give me money. Loan me money. So, pulled some favors. Again, I knew the guy at RPG. He rushed a build for me. Put forged pistons, forged rods, and Frankenstein ported the heads because the chambers were fucked up. But we put new valves, stock valves, OEM, but stock valves, and ported the heads. That was my excuse, right? Like, oh well, we got to clean up the chambers. Oh, the CNC does that real good, right? Might also clean up the runner, and that's what led to the build that I now have. So now it's like I went, from a stock motor with an MT82 to a T56 and built motor. A mild NA build. I call it a mild NA, and that it was the last that the car ran. It ran at Mod Nats, and that unfortunately was a shit show. For some reason, I can't explain to you why, but it blew out the seal on my slave cylinder, and I have a very one-off slave cylinder because I don't have a XL, a Tremec Magnum XL. I put a Cobra Tremec in it because my car's not an S197.
Yeah.
And now I didn't need, it moved the shifter to a more favorable position. And so those are made for a mechanical clutch, a fork. Well, Ram makes an adapter slave cylinder that's bigger in diameter They didn't even offer a like an O-ring seal kit for it yet. I only know that because we blew up my buddies who had the same one only a couple weeks before on his Whipple G101A car. On the dyno, we put hella counterweight so I could hold it. At the end of a dyno pull, I kick it in the clutch, and there's so much counterweight it blew up the fucking hydraulics.
Holy shit!
Yeah, and then when we called Ram, and then we couldn't find the service kit and called Ram, and then they sent the wrong one, and they're like, "Oh wait, we don't even offer that yet. We've never had to deal with it." That was literally a couple weeks prior. So I'm like, shit, I can't get it from Summit, which is an hour up the road. So went to Mod Nationals and shit showed. And I tore the car apart, and it's been down since. Because I decided, remember, original goal was stock motor, start like stock, drive like stock, do 80 mile an hour up the highway. And I did that a few times. You know, I cruised it up, you know, a few hundred miles north, and it was nice, you know. But I'm tired of breaking shit. I've learned more. I've learned more about the inertia. I've learned more about how everything works and air gaps. And at one point, my firewall was flexing, so we had to brace that
Yeah.
so the air gap doesn't vary when you're kicking it versus softly pushing it. You know. Even though I learned enough, basically what it came down to, because also the new engine I'm shifting at 9200, and
Jeez.
that's when a high inertia disc really affects you. Some people with LSs that are shifting at 6700, they can get away with a sintered iron disc because, because the RPM is just
Power
not that
shafts are
high.
spinning. Yeah.
Yeah, ACT actually. Oh, what's his name? Was it Mike? I'm going blank right now. I'm gonna blame the Jaeger. But one of the guys at ACT Clutch reached out to me, and he gave me a bunch of information. I actually went to ACT because they're in California, and took them my spec clutch, and we were, you know, checking how much I could shim it, you know, checking the pressure and how much I could shim it, and it turned out that one you can't. And that's when they showed me the moment of inertia. They have a way to measure it on my sintered iron disc, and then they hooked me up with a puck ceramic or cerametallic disc that is just significantly less moment of inertia, you know. They educated me what I was kind of wanting when people say, you
Mhm.
know, oh, they don't like a single disc and a twin disc. ACT really educated me what what the deal is, you know,
Mhm.
which made me just diehard fan of them. I put a full ACT setup in my car, but not anymore, because actually when I went to Mod Nationals, but even before the seal blew out, I was in this weird window where um by, you know, shift the 1 2, shift the 2 3, butter 3 4 wouldn't go into gear. And it's like, oh, okay. They said, well, things get hot, things start expanding. They go, disengage your clutch more. You know, adjust your pedal to get more throw out of it. Adjust it a little bit. Well, now you're pushing the diaphragm spring past center. The problem I had originally.
Mm.
Like, oh no! But again, when you're spinning 9,000 RPM, it wasn't the problem with the clutch as much as it was. You know what? I decided this just isn't going to work well with the street setup anymore. Because in order to make my synchros live, I now need a really low inertia clutch. So I mean, I'm a machinist. You know, I was looking into um, machining my own flywheel and building a 7.25 inch twin disc clutch from
Mhm.
Tilton, because that's the only way I'm going to make. You know, that's what the Hondas, the Evos, that's what they run is tiny 7.25 inch discs. There's no inertia to something that small. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, and since I'm revving as high as those engines, I figured, well, that's what it's going to take. But again, I decided now I'm looking at doing custom shit. I mean, yeah, I can machine it, but it's, you know, Whipple is crazy busy, and just sometimes I'm just like not in a big rush to machine something for myself, you know. So that's when I decided, you know what, this car's already taken several turns, and I'm okay with it no longer being as streetable as I wanted it to be. Now it's got a built engine and a short runner manifold and big camshafts. It makes no fucking torque down low. It's kind of gutless driving. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
So I don't know if I missed it. What did it run with the T56 before the motor came apart?
The fastest it ran was like a 1078. It was
Okay,
it
so
was it was like happily living in the 1080s, like 1082, 1085. That's
okay.
where it just like like clockwork would run 1080s. If I got like just some magical pass, it'd go 1070s. With an MT82, 1050s bouncing the back end, and
Crushing the tire.
yeah, multiple times.
So
Because like I said, like even later on down the road with the Caliber, it still went 1050s. So
mhm.
with the diaphragm.
Okay.
So
You still
yeah,
got the
so
T56 in it now, though. The
I
T56 is
sold
still in there.
I sold it. I
You sold
heard
it.
it. Yeah, those
Okay.
things even out of the box, I think they shift fork pads can fall off. And I had parked the car after Mod Nationals, and then in January 2023 I finally fixed my throwout bearing
Hmm.
and started street driving it, and because I still needed to work on the driving tune, the part throttle tune. So I was driving it around and then having fun hammering gears. And it was funny because one day I just drove up. I hammered gears, got it on the GoPro, posted it to Instagram, pulled it into the garage. Great. The next time I go to drive it, it wouldn't go into gear with the engine off.
Hmm.
Like something happened internally. And the only thing I can think of is it is a common there's two common problems with them. Is the roll pin for the shifter, and then also like the shift fork pads can fall off. So engine idling. I can have the engine idling, clutch in, and I even showed it in the video because I'm post whore. I post everything as long as it doesn't get me in trouble.
Yeah.
Clutch to the pedal. I got rid of the thing 9,000 RPM. If the car won't creep, there's zero engagement with the clutch, and I'm like doing this. It won't go into first gear. I'm like back and forth, back and forth. Okay, finally went second. Can I get second? Can I get second? Oh, there it is. There's second. Like it's like I drove it in good, and then it was dead. So the Magnum died. Uh, Now I'm sure it's something very simple,
Mhm.
but also at Mod Nationals, I blew out the seal on my slave cylinder, right? But I
Mhm.
drove all the way to fucking Georgia. On my first pass, I I don't know if my tires suddenly died or the track wasn't prepped or something, but my car had no bite. Like I let the clutch go and it just zinged the tire. Didn't even try to bite. Suspension didn't work. So I like abandoned the run. I went like 18s, you know what I mean? Just drove through. Came back in the second pass, the slave cylinder blew. I couldn't source an O-ring, but I'm still determined to make it work. So I was like pumping out that Mighty Vac pump system to pressurize the system. I'm pumping it because if I press the pedal normally, it would work. So I'm like, okay, fine. I'm going to pump it before every pass, and I'm going to not kick the clutch when I shift it. You know how hard that is to do.
Oh,
I learned this really hard. You drive up just fine in the line. Second, you leave the line of the drag strip, and the RPMs are screaming. Your mind's telling you, okay, now shift like your grandma. No, kick that clutch, blow the
yeah.
pressure right out the back, and then I no longer have a clutch pedal. So also at Mod Nationals, I made not one, not two, not three. I think I made like four passes. I attempted four passes where I'm literally trying to push the thing in gear with the clutch not disengaged. So, you know, um, it didn't show any signs of the transmission being hurt in January when I was driving it, but also whatever let go on the transmission probably had to do with, me trying to shift it
Mhm.
without the clutch being disengaged.
Yeah.
It's it. Don't think a Magnum's gonna break. That's me. Something I did.
It's been
And that's what I'm
so.
saying. So I decided then. I'm like, gotta go G101A.
Oh, okay, so you have a G101A in it now,
Not in it. I bought it.
but it is bought. Okay.
Yeah, I had accrued a lot of debt. Like I said, my boss is like, yeah, hey, yeah, here's the money. I
Ugh.
accrued a lot of debt, so I decided I need to pay some debt off, before I start
Mhm.
getting in more debt. So,
Yeah.
so I paid off all that. I eventually paid all that off, and then I ordered a Black Magic clutch, or no, I'm sorry, G101A, and it's all Coyote stock spec.
Mhm.
Except with a lower gear than even they run, because I'm revving so fucking high. And again, now I'm like obsessed with starting line ratio. I don't care if I'm grabbing second gear to 30 foot out. My car has been proven to be faster like that every
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
Like my car does not make it to the 60 foot in first gear. I'm in second gear under power before the 60 foot.
It's funny you say that because guys were telling me that I overgeared my car. I put a 430 in mine, and they're like, "There's no way," because I was spraying it with a 200. They're like, "There's no way that's gonna work." I'm literally coming out of the 60 foot. And I'm grabbing second already. By the time I'm going to the eighth mile, I'm top of fourth gear, about to hit limiter, and the car was going significantly faster. And I'm like, "Well, you guys can have fun with your 355s and 373s. I'm going to keep my 430." And that's how I think about it.
Yeah. And also, it's also funny because a lot of people think that you can't rev the engine higher than you shift it at.
Yeah.
So like my MT82, or well, my Gen 2 Coyote with whatever transmission was in it, even if I'm shifting at 6400, like I know the engine's good for 8500. That's where my rev limiter's at. So I gear it to go through the beams at as
Up there.
close to 8500 as I can. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
A lot of people where they're like, oh, well, nope, fourth gear, they put 373s on it, and they say they can't make it to the quarter mile. But they're lifting at 7700 because that's where they shift the car. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
you can take it 8200. It's
Yeah,
not
not
going
a
to hurt.
lot. Not a lot of people look at that at where they're at the RPM crossing that line and which gear, right? So there's a guy messaged me recently on that, and I think he said he was crossing the quarter mile at like 6,200 RPM or something like that. I'm like, oh, you got to change that gear, right? And it's like, just get online, go on a calculator, put your transmission gear ratios in, put your rear end in, and figure it out, do the math. And that's when you're going to find out where you need to be. Like my car set up, it literally hits the limiter at the eighth and third. And then at the fourth at the quarter, it's pretty much off the limiter right at the end, right? Right
Yeah.
where you want it.
Yeah. You lose people when you bring up math. I've
Yeah.
learned. I don't even tell them anymore. I don't even show them links to the calculators. I mean, I just do it all
Yeah.
myself most of the time anyway.
Even
But
if you did, they don't know what they're looking at anyway. So,
right, so I don't even lead them to there. I just do it
yeah.
myself. Like
Yeah.
I like that technical shit. So I just
Mhm.
do it all the math myself. Because I'll show them here's the like the calculator that it spits out. But again, that's only going off of your shift point. So then I'll tell them, oh, but you have this much mile an hour in it because you have to account for tire growth. Oh, okay, you got a
Mhm.
blower car, you're gonna trap 140, you're gonna get 3/4 of an inch of tire growth even out of a stiff wall, right?
Mhm.
So and then if you shift it, where's your limiter? Oh, 8400. Okay, well if you shift it or if you go through the beams at 8300, you can get it with this gear accounting for your tire growth and all. And they're like, what, really? And I'm like, yeah. And a lot of people they don't know that and they're intimidated by the technical shit. So I don't even try to help them learn the technical shit unless they ask me. I'll just do it for them, show them, and they usually just, oh, okay, cool. And then
Yeah.
they go off of what then they go 355s because someone else says that's right.
Yeah. So, yeah.
He's getting me fired up, man. I'm gonna try this turbo with my 430s and see what happens in the
Shoo.
see what
I
happens.
mean, hey, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, you just, well, like, it's, if you put all the math together, right, and figure out what kind of mile an hour you want to run or what kind of mile an hour it will run, and you start putting all that math in with the tire size and everything, you can figure it out pretty easily.
Mm.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad that you guys can math. Every time I math, I break out the bottle again. So I'll just hit you up.
Yeah.
I need to get some numbers plugged.
But you know what? I'd be curious to see what your ratios are with that gear set that you've got in the car right now to see where that sits. Because yeah, it probably wouldn't be. We should look at that. We'll look at that and maybe see how it runs with the turbo setup with that gear setup, and then can play around from there and figure out what gear ratio would probably be best for that setup. But that's the thing; it can change, right? You change your turbo, this, that, you know, that can all change.
Well, I know, like we were kind of talking in Messenger, I'm not 100% sold on turbo, so you may have to educate me on the Whipples a little bit because they do look a little enticing. And I
Yeah.
don't care for street drivability. That is already out the window. Let's party. Let's run a damn number.
Well, I'm sure everyone's probably caught on by now. Josh works for Whipple, so
Yeah. Yeah.
and I was
No,
going to ask what you do at Whipple because I wasn't too sure, but I guess you're a machinist at Whipple.
I run the machine shop. I'm the CNC
okay.
programmer, and I run the machine shop.
Yes, man.
Yeah.
So I'm not so much on the machines anymore, but I still make them.
You know. Yep. And how long you been with Whipple?
Long time. I started there in 2006. I did leave in 2010 and come back in I left late 2010, came back early 2013, and then I've been there since.
Oh wow. Long time.
Mm-hmm.
And you're good buddies with Mike with the S197. I forgot the other guy's name with the white one too. You hang out with them guys too, right?
Oh, Quaid, yeah, Cocaine 50, and Mike, yep.
Yeah, there's some badass guys, man. I know he's given me a lot of pointers back when I was NA and kind of walking me through the ropes because I was in the same boat. I wanted to hit 10s NA, and then I did it with an unported Boss manifold and didn't gut the car. I was able to actually get it into a 1090. But again, we kind of cheated a little bit and used the Wisconsin Air in middle October, and that kind of helped and got me what I needed. But
Nice.
and then right after that, I was like, well, we could chase it with a Cobra Jet, but my boys at Nitrous Express were like, hey, here's a direct port plate kit to go have some fun, and the NA stuff went out the window for me. So that was that.
Man, it's been so hard for me not to throw nitrous on my car, man. I had nitrous. I had nitrous on my
Or
car.
a Whipple. You work for fucking Whipple. You
Throw
work for
both
Whipple
on it. Come on, boost and juice, baby.
So
20 years and there's not a Whipple on that car. Your boss loaned you all this money, but he doesn't even throw a blower. Like, they'd be smart for him to even put the blower on the car. And
we're gonna call your boss. Nobody's gonna call your boss for you. We're gonna call your boss.
Again, the goal was to put a Whipple on the car. I just had a goal NA first. I mean, if I'm being honest, if I didn't have between all the transmissions, all the different clutches, dude, I probably have somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000 in all this shit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I could have afforded a Whipple a long time ago. I just never, I obsess. I'm like, I want to set a goal. And see, I don't want to be one of those people who puts a Whipple on their car and okay, it might run let's say it goes 950s, but it needs 160 trap speed to do it. Like, no, I want my stick shift car to go 950 to 144 or 143 like an auto car does. I don't want the stick shift to hinder it. I want to make my car efficient, make my driving efficient, the suspension efficient. I want to make it work. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that's why, especially when, like I said, like someone as, badass as Wesley Evans says, hey, that car can go 9s. That's why I was like, okay, then that's my new goal. It needs to go 9s. And until I go 9s, it's not getting a blower, that's why I became obsessed. So, but now I think enough time has passed where, I mean, yeah, I love Whipples. I'm always pushing people. I push people on blowers, whether it's a Whipple or not. I'm a big believer in PD blowers. I can tell you all the reasons why I believe Whipple are the best, but, I treat it like I'm a blower guy. I'll tell people, whether it's TVS or Whipple, these are the facts. This is why PD blowers are just more fun. They're better, more streetable. These are the benefits, That'll usually sell them on a Whipple, but
yeah, well, that's the tough thing. We talked about that on the last podcast that you can go back and watch anyone watching this, but that one drops tomorrow. But we talked about that too with the whole turbo, and I think Jay was kind of saying like they ease the turbo, but at the same time, there's a lot of issues with a turbo because you've got so many components, right? Where a blower, you got the belt and the pulley and let's go, right? Turbo, you got all your blow off valves and this and that and wastegates and this.
Out of your exhaust. I literally had probably a week into building my exhaust, which is the shortest little whatever up and out the fender. And now I can't turn right because my 27.5 front runner hits the exhaust pipe, and I am not going to butcher my chassis to fit an exhaust on this 80 millimeter turbo. I had to butcher the bumper already, everything to go to a T6 80 millimeter. Granted, now if I had a different kit and not a Hellion discontinued kit, yes, I'm sure I would not be having these issues. But again, we're also very budget. So when I get something for a deal, I'm going to make it work. But these are definitely the downsides, and why I tell everybody, like, yes, turbos are great. You may not have to do all of the work on the back half once you have the turbo on the car and it's tuned, as compared to the nitrous guys changing plugs or blower guys worried about, 8 rib, 10 rib, flinging belts, all that kind of shit. I'm like, but it's the initial setup that kills you, that you're going to be nickel and diamond for weeks until you get it right. And then even then, now you got to go out and test the car, dial it in, different gear ratios, clutches, God knows what else, as compared to, it's like, well, the Whipple, I could put, a big dinner plate on it, live streetable, and then when I want to kill it, let's go all the way down, the smallest pulley we can, different rib setups, and let's party. Even with nitrous, I tell everybody, people were like, how do you get away with a 200 shot on a Gen 1 and it didn't shoot the rods out? Good fuel, MS-109, good plugs, NGK 6510s, and direct port kit. Don't sit there and put a little nozzle and try to spray it through the cold air intake and let the math correct. And it's very simple. And guys are like, oh, but it's so much work. It's like, you pick your battle where you want to work with any of these power combinations. You want to be NA, have deep pockets. You want to be turbo, be ready for that initial hit. You want to go with a blower, have extra belts. You want to do nitrous, set it up right, and be ready to fill bottles. It's everybody says one's easier than the other, but it really comes down to where do you want to fight.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. I think you're the only person I know who's run 200 on a. You have a stock Gen 1, right?
Yes, sir. The only thing I got are oil pump gears and crank sprocket. Everything else is bone stock.
Yeah, I think you're the only person I know to do that. Besides, bringing up again my buddy Nate, he had a S197 6R80 car though. He put a 5C converter,
Nice.
410s. And he was a tuner, and he tuned his own car. Obviously, he had to work with HP tuners a lot to get the 6R80 shifting down because he wanted to use fifth gear. So 410, 6R80, 200 shot, and a 5C, and he had Boss camshafts and a Cobra Jet manifold. That was a 970 car.
Nice.
Trapped over 140 mile an hour, and that thing lived. Like, never had an issue. It was on E85. It's funny because most people are scared to run 150, and some people do 200 no problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it really just comes down to the distribution. It's like how much. That's why I was a big proponent of using the Nitrous Express direct port plates, because you're getting an equal cylinder distribution, which is the big killer once you start running the bigger shots, 200 and up, is like the front 4 cylinders would get most of the shot. You end up melting a piston. And again, we're not really, the rings aren't gapped really even for boost on a stock Coyote. So when you're hitting it with so much, cylinder pressure and so much heat, it's very easy to kill one of the motors. But then, again, you have your fuel to combat that. For me, I ran, just dumps right off the header, try to get all that out of the engine as quick as I can. We didn't get a chance to run it to the quarter. I set the car up very well for the 8th mile. We did a 640. That was the best we got out of that car, which should be around 990, 980. I'm thinking.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry. Yeah. High nines.
Yep. That's badass. Yeah. But what were we saying? Before we got off on the nitrous stuff, what were we talking about? So boost. So again, I like blowers. I'm a blower guy. I always talk blowers to people, but man, you know how hard it was. I've had a turbo company want to sponsor me a kit, right? This was early when the BondoBird had it was being all over the internet. It kind of lost its allure after a year, and especially because it was always broken. But I had a turbo company want to offer me a turbo kit.
That'd be tough. Working for Whipple and having a turbo on your car.
Yeah. That's why I'm leaving the name out of it too, because
Yeah.
some people know each other. Um, but then I had a guy who we sponsored a racer, and then one of the people that worked with his car was sponsored by Precision. He was trying to hook me up with some Precisions for my car. I said no, 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 no.
Hmm.
And then I had my fabricator that does all the chassis work to my car. He at one point was like begging me to do a turbo kit on my. He's like, "Give me a turbo, give me the gate." He goes, "I will do this badass kit on your car." He goes, "I'm telling you, I know you're a blower guy, but this thing's gonna be badass." And he pretty much, he never told me a dollar amount, but what was implied was, like cover the parts and cover the materials and bring me the parts, and we're putting a kit on your car. And then that one was so tempting. I talked to someone else. I just brought it up to a couple of people, and then I get a phone call a week later. One of the guys I talked to happened to know someone who works at Nelson Racing Engines, and is like, "Hey, we get you a hookup on the mirror image turbos." I'm like, God damn it! I got all these people trying to throw
Holy
turbos in my
crap.
fucking car. You know what I
You
mean? I'm like,
send them my way, Josh. So-
oh my god, it was so hard. That was a hard one, not to not to just leave my car at the fabricator and have them just do it up. You know what I mean? A full custom kit, but it's got to be a blower. If it's not all motor, it's got to be a blower. And
I like your style.
the more I think, the more that I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm driven by the Coyote hate from the LS people. Maybe I'm driven kind of like the underdog kind of a thing. But dude, I
Sounds like to
really
me
think.
you want to get that 9-second NA. It sounds like you're stubborn, and you ain't putting any boost on that thing till it runs 9's NA.
Well, what I'm trying to get at is I don't know that I'm gonna go boost now. I think I'm gonna leave it NA, but
Okay.
I mean, the car should. Had I put a G101A back then, even with the Gen 2, I think it would have gone, anywhere from a 990 to a 10-1, right? Even with the MTD2, it had a lot more in it and went 1050s. Now it's got a built motor and makes another, it made 466 with the stock motor. It made 589 with the built motor.
Oh, wow.
And there is still left in it because I'm a rookie at tuning and I couldn't keep the cams on target. Now I know what I was doing wrong. Then I bought some extras for it. So basically, I rushed that build. I built it 12.5-1 because it was the only off the shelf piston I could get, or the highest compression off the shelf. Now I'm going to put 14. Since I figured I waited this long, I'm going to do it the way I wanted to do it. I'm going to put 14-1 slugs in it, and I'm going to I'm going to do what's it called? Dry sump. I'm going to do a dry sump oil system. I had already bought a vacuum pump, which of course is good for some power too. But I decided that one thing leads to another, and like put 14-1, then that allows me to put low tension rings to take advantage of the vacuum pump. And then I'm like, but it was actually losing pressure on the dyno at 9,000 instead of going up. So I'm like, okay, dry sump, sell the vacuum pump, put a dry sump, so it'll still have crankcase vacuum, but through the dry sump now. I mean, I don't know how much more power we're gonna get out of it, but it should. I'm I'm hoping for a solid somewhere between 630 and 650 to the tire. And because also you got to remember, it made 589 on ethanol on E85, nothing fancy, no C85, nothing like that. And that was through the Magnum. Well, I already know there's more power to be gained from a transmission swap, and now I'm putting in the G101A, which is a low inertia, low drag, roller bearing, blah 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 transmission. It's going to make more power just from the transmission swap. So, if I can get 630 out of it and get the weight down to 2,900, that car, I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't go sub 950s on ethanol. And then I can start messing with M1 and nitro mixes. So, I don't want to. It's one of those things where I know what there's capable of versus what it's going to take me. It takes a lot of time to get my driving, the suspension, the chassis, everything sorted.
All done
I
then,
don't.
yeah.
I don't see why that car doesn't have an 8-second pass in it, all motor when
That'd be
it's
sick.
up and running. You know what I mean? And fuck it, if I can get anywhere near the 8s all motor, I mean, why should I need a blower then? You know what I mean? The cage is only good for 850s. You know, it's shit. I'm not going to my wife's guitar.
Thought you were gonna play us a song.
I can't play anything to save my life. That's her. That's my wife. She got a whole collection back here. But yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm just daydreaming. Maybe it's all rice or math. You know, hey, add this. That's 5
Math,
horsepower.
yeah,
Add
yeah.
that. You know. I
8
mean, I
seconds
don't know.
done. Easy.
Yeah, but
With a K&N
I mean, even with the I don't see why sub 9 or even 950s. I don't see why that's not possible with ethanol. And then, like I
So,
said, I can throw more at it then, and I want to keep lightening up the car. There's a airstrip, no prep deal that opened up last year here, and they're doing a lot of races. And there's an all motor class. They did just pour concrete. Now, before the concrete, you needed to be a solid 625 eighth mile to be competitive.
kind of, yeah.
Now with the concrete, it's gonna need to be somewhere 590s, maybe 580s. So I think it's gonna be the goal. I just want to be competitive with those guys. You know what I mean? 632 big blocks, fiberglass front ends. I'm trying to take a steel front end car. I'm probably gonna put carbon fiber doors at one point, because that's gonna be the way I can lose the most amount of weight now on the car itself. I gotta lose some panza too. But so that's the goal. Under 2,900 pounds. Huh?
That's badass, man. Like you're literally the poster child for being different, and I fuck with it heavily, man. Like you're doing the NA route, you put it in a Firebird, you did all the transmission like R&D work on yourself. You're like, fuck it, we're going all in, all motor. You're gonna go race the no prep stuff against like you're saying guys with 632s. Like, dude, it's gonna be fired up, man. I'm ready to go pull a turbo kit off my.
Oh yeah,
Shit gets me fired up, man. I like to hear different. It's
Yeah.
Coyote world again. It's repeatable results. It's you take this combo, it's going to do this. It's there's really just very set ways of doing things, and just like you are literally the poster child for like fuck all that. I'm doing it my way. Let's party, and man, I respect that, dude.
Well, let's just hope it doesn't take too damn long, man. It's been a long time since I've been working on the car, so the sooner I get out there, the sooner I can get the seat time and the chassis adjustments going, and
yeah.
we'll see
Start
what happens.
dialing it in.
Yeah.
Right.
So, did you ever do any no prep with it before, or is this something that you're thinking of taking on?
No, I didn't, but it's only because because the car was always down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I said, I I'm more of a street racer at heart, although I don't street race anymore.
Yeah.
Street racing out here is bullshit anyway.
Oh yeah.
So, but now that we have this little no prep airstrip thing, it's got me all fired up. Like that's where my roots are is
Yeah.
street shit, hood rat shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's what I like with the no prep stuff, right? It's more street.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's got me fired up. I gotta get right now I'm trying to get my truck sorted out. I was just getting back to my car. I was scheduled to take the car to the fabricator to have the G101A put in, cross member and trans tunnel work.
Mm-hmm.
And then my fucking transmission died on my GMC.
Oh shit!
I swear, one of the worst decisions I ever made was get a GMC truck. I should have got an F-150.
Oh man, don't wish that evil on me, man. I got a 2500 HD. I don't need that bad.
Well, that's different. It's 2,500. I got a 1,500.
Yeah.
There's your problem.
Yeah, I can't justify a 2,500.
I need it, man. My car is heavy, and I lug the all the tools in the bed, but I got factory weight reduction because it is an 03, so my rockers are all rusted out, bed's falling apart, so we're good. It's got some weight reduction to help still.
Nice. Well, my truck it's a 2018. It's got a Whipple on it, and
Oh,
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah.
Got a Whipple on something.
it was one of their development vehicles.
Yeah.
Yeah, they make us good deals on the old development vehicles. They'd rather just sell it
Yeah.
to the employees.
Yeah. That's
So
cool.
so I got that, and dude, like I feel like unless you're hauling over 10,000 pounds all the time, a blower 1,500 is fucking great. But
Yeah, I struggle all the time because I think about getting an F-250. I got the F-150. It just drives so nice, and it does tow well for what I'm doing with it, right? And the problem with mine is it sits so much because I have a company truck too, so I barely drive my truck. So you got diesel sitting. That's you don't want to do that. So I'm kind of stuck with this for now. So
and well, what does it cost for you to register your 2,500, Jay?
Well, we're in Crook County, so I think all said and done, I was like $700 when I got it. I got it used, so but it wasn't horrible because I did trade it for $1,000 '95 Jeep CJ. So I was like, goodbye, give me this truck. I need a tow pig, and I was like, all right, I'm $700 in on registration and plates. I needed a little bit of body work because it had gotten sideswiped in the front end. So I mean, I maybe $2,000 all in, registration, fixing it up and stuff like that. And I got myself a nice 2,500 with the 6.0 and 4L80. Now it just needs an LSA blower.
Oh, it's a gas 2,500. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
oh, it's a gasser.
I will
Oh,
not
okay.
touch a diesel. This is where I will give the LS guys some slack. They're great working motors. So I wanted the LS. I wanted the 6.0. I already have the prior knowledge of working on the 6.0s and, any LS motor. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just get an LS daily driver. They're easy to maintain. I can find parts all day, every day. If I get broken down hauling back from the track, I'm sure I could call somebody that has parts sitting in their garage with a lot of the guys I race with. So it just worked out.
Yeah, or just coast to the local 7-Eleven where they're slinging dope or LS parts.
Honestly, I'm on the south side. I can get them some stuff to trade.
um, yeah, I was
So
looking into a gas 2,500, but dude, like California, it cost me over $1,000 a year to register.
It's
holy
So
ridiculous,
crap.
man. And you know what? Honest to God, I was just out today at the Chicago Auto Show. We're filming. We went out and just roasted the shit out of the show. But we're looking at the new Chevys, a lot of the new 2,500s, and it's like, man, like I don't think there was anything at the auto show that was worth even eye catching, really, like worth like, man, I would spend that for it. Like we were looking at a fully loaded. It was a ZR2 2,500 HD. I mean, just the MSRP was already almost 80 grand. And so it's like
Oh,
after tax, title, dealer markup, you're probably 110, 115 out the door after they crack you for whatever they want to crack you for. And it's like, it's not worth it. It's a Chevy, man. I'm not buying a fucking Maserati or something like that. I just can't fathom spending that kind of money for a Chevy or a GMC. It's like you're really honestly better off with the older stuff.
yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm just so much bullshit with mine in the past year that I'm like, oh man, I'm thinking of when I get it back together finally, selling it and just buying like a 97, 98, I don't know, an old fucking Chevy, something that's ratty and beaten down, but easier to work on, easier to modify, easier to make it good. Put a 4L80 in it,
Yep.
no more transmission issues.
99 through '07 is what you want, man. Those are now if you can get the '06, '07 diesel, the 6.6 with the Dana rear end. Oh man, you're in the Allison Trans. Oh, dude, you are rolling. You are rolling. But anything prior to that, gas, whether it's a 5.3, 4.8, 6.0, I mean, literally, you could put any combo. They even have adapter plates where you could run like a rectangle style LSA blower on a cathedral
Hmm.
head. It's beautiful, man, and it's so cheap. I mean, you might be all in blower everything 4,500.
But I work at Whipple and we have cathedral intake manifolds, so
There you go. Yeah, you put a Whipple on your 6.0 cam only, like all the LS guys say, and you're ready to party. 700 horsepower daily, and you're ready to rock.
I can't do this. I don't have the self control. See, I actually thought I was making a smarter move not getting an F-150 because if I had a Whipple F-150 tow pig,
oh,
dude, I would race everything at the stoplight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even a crew cab on the Whipple Tune is probably what a 12 truck, high 11
oh
seconds,
yeah.
high 11-second truck. Dude, my GMC get like literally got beat by a Camry.
Yeah,
like,
I hear you. I mean, I had a buddy.
like I got humbled by a Camry, so I just drive it like a grandma, you know.
I had a buddy that had a 20.
But I think the key is just not modding your truck. That's with my F-150. It's stock.
You don't
Right?
need to
Just
mod
leave
it. No,
Yeah.
you don't need to mod
No,
it.
get the car.
Like I said, my guy's
Yeah,
got the 2020 Platinum. This was years ago, and I mean, it was a bone stock. It was an EcoBoost. We were going down the city and messing around with all these little Edgars with their CUD trucks, and dude, we're talking cammed 4.8s, your typical slammed, whatever short bed Silverados, and we're putting bus links on them with a stock 3.5 EcoBoost. I'm like, this is crazy. This isn't right. It's the new trucks. Like, you don't need to modify them. They're reliable. So I'm kind of in favor of like, hey, you might want to get that F-150. You might like it. I'm gonna poke you a little bit. Do it.
I think I'm just afraid of because this GMC is my first truck, right? So I was spoiled with a blower 1500. 'Cause I have a heavy
Yeah.
trailer. I have and I totally scored. A buddy of mine had like a 1-year-old Max D drop and load airbag trailer,
Oh, that's sick.
and he sold it to me in 2021 when those things used were selling for damn 8,000-9,000 more than they were brand new. But he did me a solid and sold it to me for less than what he paid for it brand new. It's the only reason I got it. Love that trailer. It's fucking sick, but it's heavy. It's like a 4,300-pound trailer.
Jesus.
Holy
And
shit.
yeah. So my car's light, but I have a heavy fucking trailer. And same thing, when I go to the track, I have like everything from the garage that'll fit in there. It's in the back because I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Yeah.
So I haul a lot. It's a pretty heavy haul every time I go to the track. And with the blower, dude, I mean, I can set cruise control at 80 and it just like I have the power. It just goes. There's no lack of torque ever.
Hmm.
If I try to do that with a stock F-150, I'm going to be to the wood trying to get to 80 mile an hour. You know what I mean? It's just I'm almost afraid of having to be that guy in the damn slow lane doing 65.
Always on.
You know what I mean?
That's where I'm at. I got a faulty throttle body right now, and mine's that electronic throttle body. And if I go over a certain throttle percentage, it just goes into limp mode, and it's like, all right, so I'm in the left lane. Like, once I get to 80, I am cruising at 80. I don't care if you get behind me doing 100. You're gonna have to go around. I'm stuck at 80, 85 because if I push it any harder, that motherfucker's going into limp mode, and I got to park on the shoulder.
That's funny.
It sucks.
When I hauled to Georgia, dude, like out there in Texas, like I had cruise control set at 90 at one point.
Oh shit!
Like
Holy
up
crap.
inclines, you know what I mean? And when I'm going through New Mexico, no, was it Mexico? New Mexico or Arizona? No, it was Arizona. Dude, I mean, we went to like 8,500 elevation,
Damn.
and going up all those halls, like, dude, pulling that weight, it just literally
nice.
like 80 mile an hour, it does not even care. And that's why I'm just like, oh, I know I should get a stock truck, but that's gonna suck when you're used to.
Yeah, it'd be
something
hard
like
after
that.
having all that power. Yeah.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
It might be a turd, like I said, it gets beat by a Camry, but damn, it pulls. You know what I mean?
I am a firm believer. You race a Ford powered vehicle, you tow with a GM powered vehicle.
Yeah.
Unless you're this guy, then I guess you're just all in on Ford.
Whatever gets the job done, I guess, at the end of the day.
As long as it's not Dodge.
Yeah. As long as it's not Dodge. Actually, I got a question for you on that G101. Like,
yeah.
Is it streetable at all, a G101, or?
Well, I haven't driven it yet, but yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. It's just not going to be as comfortable or smooth. You know what I mean? It's going to clunk. It's going to clunk when you put it in low gear, and then when you're shifting it, they say you either got to double clutch it or you just shift it hard. You know what I mean? You just, basically you bang shift it when you're normally driving.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just to keep, there's no synchronizers to match speed. You know what I mean? So you just, you got that certain window in the dog rings. And you just got to force it in there.
And that's it. Yeah.
Sorry. I don't know if you guys heard that. My dog is snoring like hell. I don't want you guys to think I was like freaking out over here. I was like, you guys are going to hear that shit. This dude's knocked out.
I couldn't hear it.
I didn't hear nothing.
So I guess the
But
plan.
yeah,
I guess the plan with it is some no prep, and then probably get on some sticky stuff too, obviously to
oh
try
yeah,
to
oh
walk
yeah,
some numbers down.
yeah. The others a track. Well, we lost one of my favorite track. We lost my favorite track, but we still have a couple here in California. So yeah, it'll be no prep, and then the occasional go to the actual sticky track and probably try messing with radials. I have the clutch for it now. I have.
Mhm.
Well, I don't even think I mentioned it, but I have a Ram single disc 8-inch adjustable clutch.
Oh,
So
okay. Adjustable
that one's
clutch.
more
So
suited.
yeah.
That one's more suited for my lack of torque. Like I said, the 10-inch Black Magic, it still was too much.
Mhm.
I only had like 4 grams of counterweight on each lever. It still was too much. This one not going to be the case. So yeah, I'll be able to play with radials, and I still have the bank shift Billy on top of that.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
some of the NMRA racers swear by, even if you have an adjustable, lock down the base, add the counterweight, and then you still use a tamer to control the slip because they say you're still going to be faster launching at a higher RPM and pulling the motor down just a hair than having to drive into the clutch, like start low and then drive up. And with dude, my this build that I have now, dude, no power until 6,800. Like you put your foot down, it's
Nice.
dead. You got to wait for VTEC to kick in. You know what I mean?
Feature.
It's
It's
yeah.
all up top.
So the last thing I want to do is have to launch at a lower RPM where there's no power at all and have to drive into the power. I think so. I have options, is what I'm saying. So I'm still leaving the bank shift Billy. Might try launching higher RPM and relying on the bank shift Billy, even though it's an adjustable clutch. But so yeah, I mean, I'm gonna figure out what will make it quickest. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Right.
No, it's super cool. Looking forward to seeing the progress from here.
Dude, believe me, I
Yeah.
can't wait. It's just
Yeah.
at this point,
You've
it's a
had the
money game.
Yeah, you've had the road of bad luck, so hopefully that turns around. You've had all the bad luck, and it'd be work out good
It was
from here on into.
self-induced. You know what I mean? It was self-induced. I was trying to
Mhm.
drag race with streetcar shit. So now I got rid of the streetcar shit. It's got drag race shit in it now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I said, it was a hard pill to swallow to make it less treatable. But and when I say less treatable, it just means I can't do 80 mile an hour at
Yeah.
2,800
Still cruise
anymore. You
around
know what I
town and
mean?
whatnot, right? Still go get
Correct.
ice
Yeah.
cream with it and
Yep.
take it to the cruise night or whatever and chill.
Well, I mean, a street, if there's a true street class that needs 30-mile cruise, I mean, I don't care if I'm revving 4,000 RPM, I'll do it. You know what
Oh
I
yeah,
mean?
Yeah.
get through it,
It's
push
not that
through it.
it's not that it won't. It's just just not as
Yeah.
convenient when you're having the rev so high.
As they
But
call it, the
Yeah.
NVH. It's going to be
Oh yeah.
loud and rattly, but hey, you know what? We sign up for that shit.
yeah, it's not a true daily. So it's
Yeah.
like you got to give up some creature comforts, but it's just I mean to me it's part of the fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's where
100%.
it's fun. You take your weekend car out, which, like it would be for you, the Bird, or, our S197s, you take it out on a Sunday after a long work week and it's like, you know what, go ahead, cars and coffee. And it's like, you don't mind all those little quirks that the car has because you're just like, well, I never drive it. It feels good. It's got its personality. But it's when you drive it every day where you're like, man, fuck this thing. And
Oh yeah.
every once in a while, you're like, this feels good.
Oh yeah, like once or twice a week, it's a blast.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
yeah, I can't wait to get back to that. I'm hoping 2025 is the year, but we'll see how much it costs me to get the truck running again and how fast I can pay that off.
No, that's awesome. No, that's sweet. No, I appreciate you coming on, Josh. No, that's crazy story with the car too. Um, Appreciate you sharing that because I wasn't as dialed in as maybe Jay is on the car. I know I just recently started following you and
Okay.
chatting with you, but that's a super cool story too. And I love the history with that car. So you definitely got to hold on to that forever and pass
Yeah.
it down through the family.
Yeah, it's definitely staying. Yeah, it's staying in the family.
Oh yeah, that's
It
definitely
may
got to
not
stand
always
up.
have a coyote in it, but who knows what the future will bring. But
Yeah, as long as you keep a stick in it.
yeah,
And then
that'll never have an auto in it again.
even
Okay, good. Okay.
So
That's
soon,
awesome.
so like I said, maybe 2025, you'll finally see me not miss a gear. You know what I mean? Like,
I will
Hell
watch
yeah.
that car miss as many gears as it needs to, as long as it doesn't have a 400 in it or anything of that.
Yeah.
You miss as many as
well,
you want.
hey, if I didn't post, the bad passes, then there'd be so few passes posted ever of that car.
That's though. I mean, that's why I've been following your build for a long time. Like when I first got into the Coyote stuff, I mean, you're one of the first ones I started following because it was just like I do it myself. If you look at my page, I'll post parts breakages, I'll post losses and whatever else. I post everything because it's like, hey, this is not all sunshine and rainbows. Like there are going to be a lot of bad days. It is not what you see on TikTok where, yeah, here's my 2,000 horsepower car I built in a week and I'm gapping everything. Yeah, but how many times did you break? How many times did shit just not go your way? You know what I mean? Like that's the natural part. And that's what the modern day hot rider is missing out is everybody wants the glory. They don't want the work. So again, man, I've been following you for a long time, and I got mad respect for you, man. So it's a pleasure having you on. Honestly, finally get to sit down and
Yeah,
talk with you.
super cool.
All right, well,
And then you got social media, you got the Instagram, you got the TikTok.
yeah, BondoBird. That's
Yeah.
BondoBird. If you search BondoBird anywhere,
You'll find,
you'll
yeah.
see calves or cars. So
Yeah, there's
We like them
there's
both.
only one, right? There's only one. Yeah. But I'll
Oh,
drop Josh's socials in the description here so you can go over there and make sure you like and follow all of his stuff over there and follow the journey where the Bondo Bird goes from here. And yeah,
I do
again,
have a YouTube. It's also BondoBird. I like never post to it, but I'm this time around. I might try to do
you
it.
got to get, yeah. I think you should do
I'm
that.
not good at
I support that.
I'm not good at talking to a phone and like, hey guys, check out. I'm not good at that.
No,
I feel,
I'm not either.
but I might just
It's hard.
just record what I'm doing and just just okay. Next screen. Oh, now it's on. Next screen. Let's go
Yeah.
racing. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Hey,
But
something's better than nothing.
Oh yeah.
yeah, but yeah, no, it's all there. And when I get back to the car, it'll definitely be documented. So hopefully with much more success this time.
Yeah, I agree.
Right on.
Awesome. Right on. Right. Thanks everyone that made it this far. Make sure you like, subscribe, go down in the descriptions there. You'll be able to get Josh's links and J Mac's links down there. And that'll wrap up the third episode of Stick Talk. And we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks again, Josh.
All right, guys. Later.